I would say welcome back to the show, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people might find the podcast as a result of this episode's title and the SEO and all of that comes along with it. So, welcome to the podcast. I interview people who are living with herpes about their experience. And in addition to that, I also interview sexual wellness organizations, sex educators, relationship experts, and anyone who can offer some useful advice and guidance for anyone who is in the realm of sex positivity or navigating a positive STI diagnosis. This podcast is an extension and fundraising tool function of Something Positive for Positive People, the nonprofit. For more information, you can visit spfpp.org, and that's just the acronym of Something Positive for Positive People.org. You can make a donation, you can pledge to become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $2.50 a month in order to support this podcast financially. If you find any of the information useful, I encourage you to consider showing your support monetarily. This podcast episode contains a trigger warning. We do discuss sexual assault as well as sending your money to someone who proposes a cure for herpes. Now, at the time of this recording, there is no public known cure for the herpes simplex virus. And if there is, then there's no need for people to be looking for this podcast unless it's for history lessons about the virus or if they just come to this episode because they want to know how people dealt with the scammers that are out there. So we talk about some of the red flags of the people who are proposing a cure for herpes, and oftentimes there are these long posts from an account that has like 3 followers, one post, and a Gmail address linked in their bio, and they say something like they've been cured of HIV, all disease, herpes, and all you have to do is send an email to some Gmail account in order to get your medication. So I interviewed someone who's done that. She went through that process and we talk about what happened on her end and the lesson that came along with it and how it really the process, the situation really contributed to her own healing process. So I encourage you to listen to this episode. If you're someone who's considering a cure, please understand you're in a very, very, very vulnerable place right now, and it's very easy for people to take advantage of the vulnerability that you have right now. And an STI diagnosis is something that really puts us in position to seek any sort of relief from wherever we can get it, even if that means out of the country and we're willing to take a risk that we wouldn't normally take by wiring money somewhere in hopes that we're going to be cured from what we currently believe to be an incurable disease. So I challenge you to listen through here and learn about the red flags and empower yourself with information. This episode is also supported by Waxo, WAXOH. It is an online magazine that is LGBTQAI plus inclusive, and they allow me to talk about STIs and sexual health. I don't get a lot of places where I'm allowed to uplift and extend this information, so all of the support and the growth of this podcast really comes from the effort of the listeners. So when you like, rate, review these podcast episodes on whatever podcast player you're listening on, when you share this with the people around you and in safe spaces and communities that you're part of, that's how this podcast is able to grow. That's how we get more guests. That's how we get more listeners. That's how we're able to continue to produce this podcast at a regular frequency of once a week. So as long as people continue to do that, that's how long we'll be able to release these episodes. So again, if you haven't already checked out the website, go to www.spfpp.org and you can check out the testimonials tab to see how useful this podcast has been for people. And I hope you find it useful as well. All right, let's get into the episode. Welcome to Something Positive for Positive People. I'm Courtney Brain. This is a podcast where I interview someone who's living with herpes about her experience. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. This is another one of those episodes where we didn't really get to talk much about your story. So as you're telling me stuff, that's how soon I'll be finding out about whatever it is. So a couple of things to keep in mind as we go through this interview. If you stumble over any of the words that you say or you misspeak about something, just take a deep breath, repeat what you wanted to say, and I can cut it out right before that point. All right, Lindsay?
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so my name is Lindsay. I'm from Canada, 25 years old, and yeah, I unfortunately have herpes.
Unfortunately, it's
I mean,
unfortunate
fortunately,
at
unfortunately,
first.
a little bit of both.
You and I met, I believe we connected over Instagram. Was it Instagram?
Yeah,
I mention this to people as it happens, but like the timing of when people reach out to me always seems to be in line with when I need podcast guests or when I'm feeling a little
nice.
discouraged, or it's across the board. And you reached out ready to talk about your experience on the podcast. So, can
Yeah.
you tell me what compelled you to reach out?
Yeah, so I was just like sitting on the train going to work like about a week ago, and the herpes was on my mind. So I was just like sitting there on Reddit, going through some forums about people with herpes, and someone in one of the forums said, "Oh, like whoever reads this, you need to go on this podcast, something positive for positive people." So I was like, "Okay, like jump on that right away." So I had to go to work, but I remember like it kept in my head. Came home from work, and then I just like started going into some of the podcasts. Actually, the first one I listened to was actually yours. It was like the first one that came up. It was like episode of whatever 00 or something. But yeah, so I listened to yours and like totally resonated with a lot of what you were saying. And then a couple days later, I just kind of kept coming back to a few more of them. Like, I wouldn't really read too much of the description. I would just, like, find one and just start listening to it and be like, yeah, yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. Yep, yep. And then I think it was, like, yeah, Tuesday, a couple days ago, I just was like, I'm going to message him and I'm going to see if I can get on there. I don't know why. I didn't have any logic come through my mind. It was just like, I want to get on there. And yeah, I didn't really think things through. It was just very impulsive. So I think I messaged you and I was like very direct, like, can I be on? Like, so yeah.
I'm really glad that you did. I'm
Yeah.
getting out of the habit of overthinking and analyzing things and more so not following my impulses, but letting them guide me to a safe space to where if I'm feeling some sort of an impulse, I look at it as like intuition or just a gut response to
Absolutely.
something. And I'm able to consciously look at that like, oh, where we going? Where we going? And if it's somewhere I
Yeah.
don't need to fucking be, then we're like, whoa, pump the brakes. But oftentimes it's led me into really good, productive, positive situations. And
Yeah.
so, like, I'm always just curious about the other side, the behind the scenes stuff of it, because you were like, yeah, I
Totally.
found this and I needed it. So, thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
me.
I totally believe like everything happens for a reason. And I think at that time I kind of needed to stumble across that forum and just so happened to read that person's go to this podcast. Like, I 100% believe like everything happens at the right time as well. So yeah.
Oh, and I'm so happy because I don't get to post a lot of places without it being removed because it's seen as me self promoting myself. And no matter
Really?
how, yeah, and there's really no way around it because I'm talking about my podcast to the general public.
Yeah.
So I have to sneakily try and word things in some places in a way where I'm just saying, hey, there's this podcast. This is what they talked about, and I try to make it as
Mm,
much about the guests as possible. But what normally
interesting.
helps is when other people share the podcast. So when other people are
Yeah.
to say, hey, there's this podcast, just like the way you found it. That's how
Hmm.
I envision a lot of people who have found it, finding it,
Absolutely.
and moving into the future. This is going to be
Yes.
the way that they find it. The efforts that I put into getting people to be able to find this podcast are more behind the scenes of like connecting with and networking with sexual wellness organizations, sex educators, and public
Yep.
health professionals in order to get them to be open to just as they deliver a diagnosis or even if they test people like, hey, here's this resource, you should check it out so that people are aware that there's something there for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100% agree. Like it's the trickle down and it can spread just by word of mouth. So it's great. That's
Yeah,
why.
exactly how
Yeah.
herpes spread if you have it orally by mouth,
Yeah.
skin to skin
Hmm.
contact. While we're on that topic, so let's talk about your experience. So you can just walk me through what happened from when you discovered you had herpes up until now.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like a long story. So sorry to whoever's listening. I won't try to go too long here.
There's no
Um,
such thing as a long story. They're all useful.
yeah. So I found out in 2018, and 2018 was kind of like this big opportunity year for me, I guess. I was living in Canada, and I got the opportunity to go do hair in Nicaragua in Central America. So I like leapt at that opportunity and quit my job and living in Canada. Said goodbye to everyone I was working with, like loved everyone I worked with, loved my family, loved my friends where I live, but I'm very much like I want to do everything type of personality. Like I want to live like the craziest, coolest ass life. So when things kind of pop up in my horizon, oh hey Lindsay, you want to go do this? I'm like, let's fucking do it. Like let's do it. So yeah, so I quit my job in Canada. Kind of once again impulsively moved to Nicaragua, started working down there. I was there for about a month and a half, and then the country started going into like civil unrest. There was a bunch of issues, and I was working in a little hair salon in this little town, little surf town, and it started getting really unsafe, like protesting, and I kept hearing like throughout the country, like through Facebook or just like on Google or whatever, just word of mouth, that things are getting like worse. And I wasn't really making like a ton of money. Like I didn't really go down there to like, make a bunch of money and I don't know, I guess live more materialistically. It was actually quite the opposite, to live more like minimalist. So I kind of just decided like this is not really working out for me. I'm not making any money. I have like an apartment. It doesn't cost me a lot of money, but like this is not safe. More. So I just ended up going with two friends that I met, a German and an Australian, and I was doing her hair, like I was her hairstylist, and she was like, okay, well, we're gonna go to Costa Rica. If you want to come, like I know you've totally, because they heard my whole story, like I moved there, and it was like supposed to be like a whole new chapter of my life, and we started connecting. I kind of became friends with them, and they were traveling from Mexico all the way down to South America, and they were like, just come with us. And I was like, yeah, yeah, okay, all right. Like, I'm nothing else going on, so why not? So, quit that job, told my boss what was going on. She fully 100% understood. She's like, yeah, I mean, if I were you, I would leave now. Like, you kind of just got here. Just keep moving south, and if anything changes, keep in contact. So I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up traveling with the Australian because the German guy, he went back to Germany. So it was just me and my friend from Australia, and we ended up like driving all through Costa Rica, made about like a 3 week long trip, just honestly fully partied. Like it was a lot of alcohol, just a lot of craziness. She was about, I don't know, 7 years older than me, but just like we totally hit it off. Like we'd known each other forever. Like and just wanted to party and get crazy, especially because like, I hadn't really done that because I'd been working. 3 weeks into being in Costa Rica, we ended up in this little town, and everything was going pretty good. Like we would just, drink and meet people in the hostel, travel, go swim, do it all, whatever, traveling. And then she actually met a guy in Europe. So it was like halfway through when we were in Costa Rica, she impulsively bought a ticket and was like, I'm going to go to Europe to see this guy because she met him in Mexico and just really liked him and I guess followed her intuition, and she left like the next day. So it was like her last day being in Costa Rica, and it was just me and her and other people in this hostel, and it was kind of a party hostel. Like you could get like tattoos for really cheap, and everyone's just sitting around drinking beer and smoking cigarettes or whatever. It was like our last night, so I wasn't planning on going out that night. Like I think it was a Friday, and then I was just kind of chilling in my room, like in my little bed and just on my phone, whatever. And she comes in and she's been like having a few drinks, and she's like, just come out, like I think I'm gonna get a tattoo. And she's never got a tattoo before, and it was just like this really crazy whatever. So I went out and I started having a couple drinks, and then she ended up like she was way more ahead of me. She probably had like 8 drinks by the time I was on my second beer or whatever. She ended up like getting pretty drunk, but she was leaving that morning at like 4 a.m. to catch a flight to go to Europe. And so I started drinking with her. It was like our last night together. I hadn't really met anyone else, so I was like, yeah, I'll party with you, like whatever. So then I started drinking quite a bit. Fast forward a couple hours, and we're making friends with like everyone in the hostel, and they're all going out to go to like some club. And I was like, all right, like I'm down. So I started getting ready or whatever and drinking more. And the girl, like the Australian, she was going to come, but then she ended up just like getting too drunk and she needed to catch a flight. So she didn't end up going. So then I remember thinking at that point, my friend's not going. I'm going with all these people who I don't know. Yes, there's girls, there's some guys. One of them is like the hostel owner. She was a girl from, I think, Sweden. She like owned the hostel or whatever. And I was like, I remember thinking, like, should I go out with them because my friend's not going, or should I stay? Meaning me, back then, I was like, fuck it, I want to go. Whatever. I've been working my ass off for the last, like, month in Nicaragua. I want to party, right? So I went out with all these kind of people I didn't really know, and then ended up, drinking more and more and more. Fast forward kind of a couple hours, and I ended up, like, drunk. I remember being in the club because the people I was with, they were all kind of standing outside and just hanging out, and no one was going in to dance, and like I wanted to dance, so I went into this club and I met some of the local girls. Super nice. They were kind of around my age, and I was like, hi, just all weird. I was kind of drunk. I was like, I want to dance, but my friends out there don't want to dance. Do you guys want to dance with me? And they were just two like local girls, super nice. They were like, yeah, of course, hon, come on. So started kind of hanging out with them. I think the last thing I kind of remember was like taking shots with them. And then I don't remember anything until the next morning, where it gets a little bit graphic. I don't remember what happened from this point on, but this is like super TMI, but I guess I'm just going to go 0 to 100 and tell you guys what happened. So I woke up in a house in the forest with no doors or windows. It was like concrete, fully in the forest, and I was naked on a mattress on a floor in a pile of my own shit. It was fucked the fuck up, and I woke up alone. There was no one there, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And I was like still drunk. Like I was still a little bit drunk because like I drank a lot the night before, and I'm like, holy fuck. So I woke up and my clothes are nowhere to be in sight. There's no one that I can see in this house at that time. I'm covered in shit. Super nasty to even say out loud. Super sorry to even say that out loud, but like this is just what happened. And then I knew that there was someone in the kitchen because I could hear a little bit of like rumbling. And keep in mind, this is like a house that I know I have never seen. It was literally concrete. Like it was just fucked up. There was no windows on the windows. There was no door on the door, like front door. I just knew it was just like a couple rooms. And yeah, so I started freaking out, and I'm covered in, the nasty stuff. So I started freaking out, and I'm like, what am I going to do here? Like, I don't know who's out there. Like, I could be in like serious danger. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do here. So I started panicking, and first thought that came to my head was like, jump out the window. I was still a little drunk. I was really scared, so I was like, just jump out the window. But then I'm like, wait, Lindsay, you're fucking naked. Don't do that. That's like not a good idea. So then I'm like, okay, where's the bathroom? So I looked, I see a bathroom, and it's not even really what a bathroom would look like. It's a hose. And like no toilet, no mirror, no nothing. I turn on the hose and I started like hosing myself down. And then this person starts coming into the room, and it's like a man, and he's probably like, I don't know, in his 30s, and he's a local, and he's like kind of starts getting mad at me. And I'm like, start like stalling. I start stalling and start thinking, what am I going to do here? Like, do I be nice? Do I start freaking out? Do I run away? Do I get mad? Do I play along with this? What the fuck do I do here? So I just decided to play along with it, like just play along with it, because I didn't know like what type of situation I would be getting myself into. So I just started washing myself off, and he told me like, no, there's like no running water, like don't use that. And I was like, okay, well, like where's my clothes? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, I kind of want my clothes. Can you try to find them? And he was like, I don't know where they are. I'm just trying to get the fuck out of this situation. So I start going out, and I walk out his front door or whatever. There's no door, so walk out the fucking hallway thing into the porch, and I see my clothes way down along the driveway, and all my clothes are there. And then my purse is near on the porch, so grab my purse, quickly go through it, make sure my passport's in there, so it's still in there. So I'm like, all right, got my passport. That's good. So I'm like, okay, this is going good. So I quickly run outside, grab my clothes, come back inside. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do here. So I told him, I was like, I don't know where I am. Can you please take me back to my hostel? But I made him take me to a different hostel because he has a car. So I got in his car, and I was like, take me to this hostel. So we drove down like the main, like it's a really small town. I don't even really know how to describe it. It's touristy, but it's like one main road. You got a couple different hostels. So I made him take me to a different one. Once I had all my clothes on and stuff, we got in the car, took me there. Then I went and I pretended to go into that hostel, made sure he drove away. Then I made sure to go back to my real hostel. Then I was like, kind of like, what the fuck just fucking happened? Like, holy shit. Like, just kind of trying to digest everything that kind of just went on. Obviously, I'm still super hungover, and my good friend that I had become friends with in the last 6 weeks had just left, so now I don't know anyone. So I get on my phone and I call my best friend in Canada and I tell her like everything that happened. And I told her, I gave her all the nitty gritty details, and she was like, yeah, I think it's time you should come home. And I was like, yeah, I think so too. Let's get me the fuck home. She got my flight all ready to go, and so I could just pack up and kind of get the fuck out of there. So I got on the bus to then drive to the Costa Rican airport, like I think the next day. Yeah, I think I was on the next day. And then, then I had to trek back home to Canada. So by this time, I still don't know I have herpes, but I just know that some shit went the fuck down in Costa Rica, and I woke up in a hut, and I'm naked, and I'm covered, and it was just, like, so fucked up. So then I
Can I
got
ask you
packed up,
something real quick?
and yeah,
Was it your shit? I've been waiting on that
I don't know.
for the
I don't
longest.
know.
All
I
right.
really don't know, and that's the thing is I don't know how many people were in there. I don't know what the fuck went down. I don't know if I got drugged, because it was like boom, wasted, blackout, wake up the next day covered, just yeah. So just a lot of nasty shit that went down.
Okay,
So
wait,
then I
wait.
got
So
back
it
to
was
Canada.
it was a lot of shit. Like we're talking about.
No, 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 not like an obscene. Like there was some, but not like a ton.
Like, did you shit
Like on
yourself
my
and take your clothes
like
off?
I think I was like fully raped, possibly in like like I don't know, man. It's fucked up. I just like don't even like saying it out loud.
Ugh.
Um, yeah. So
Okay.
then yeah. Do you have any other questions before I
No, no,
continue?
no. You keep going. You keep going. Because at this point, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, good. No one had sex with her. She just got shit on. And then it's like, oh, okay. All right. Nope, not the case. Go.
I don't know. I was naked and my clothes were on the driveway out past the house. So that's another thing, right? So who fucking knows? Yeah. So then I got back to Canada, and then it was like my second day being in Canada, like seeing my family and friends and everything. And then I woke up like the second day I was back, and I was like, holy shit, something's not right. Like, whoa, something's not right. Like, I was like itchy, painful, and like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I have something. Like, there's no doubt about that I don't. I for sure have an STD. I don't know anything about STDs. So then I took like a mirror and I looked at it, and I'm like, oh my God, like that is just, yeah, no, that's not right. So then I called one of my friends because I came back. So I didn't have a car, I didn't have a job. I was in my mom's house, and all my friends and family, they're at work because they didn't just go off and move to Nicaragua, and they didn't sell all their things. So I didn't even have a car to go to take myself to the doctor. So I called one of my best friends, and I'm like telling her everything, and I'm like, I need you right now. Like, are you off work? And she's like, yeah, I got the day off. Like, what's up? And I'm like, I really, really need you. So she took me to the doctor. And I didn't want her to come with me because I just kind of wanted to do it solo. I knew it wasn't going to be good. I knew what I was in for after what just happened. I was like, I just want to do this by myself. So she just like dropped me off, went and did her own thing. And I went into the doctor, and, I like had the doctor look at it, and she was like, oh, sweetie, like that's herpes. And I remember I just started bawling, like just tsunami bawling, like just crying. And then called my same friend. She picked me up and, just talked me down. And we kind of hung out for like the entire night and day. And that's when I found out. And then yeah. There's more to this, yeah. But
Well, first off, I feel like an asshole because I'm like, the whole time thinking, was this her shit or somebody else's shit? And it turns out
yeah.
you had actually been raped.
But that's the really fucked up thing is like I came home and I didn't know if that was rape. So I told 2 or 3 of my friends, like my closest friends, and I almost said it in a way that wasn't like as severe because I thought, well, I was drunk. I was the one that went out of my way. I was the one that accidentally drank all that much from the very get-go. I did this to myself and very self-blaming. And then once I actually told my mom about 3 months later, like the full uncut, nasty version y'all just heard, and she was like, Lindsay, that's fucking rape. that's not, what the fuck, that's fucked up. She was like so mad, so upset, crying. She was like, that's not just some little story. Like, I think you got raped in Costa Rica. Call whoever what they want to call it, define it. But what the fuck? Like, she just couldn't even, like, digest what I told her and how scary it was for me, like, waking up basically in a forest, and I didn't know where I was.
Well, I mean, at this point,
So,
I'm just glad you woke up, you know?
yeah, I know. I totally
Ah.
agree. So then came back to Canada, and then I had to digest that, and then it kind of sent me on this like total path of like radical lifestyle change. So like, I used to drink socially, no more. I used to eat like shit, no more. I didn't exercise. I didn't take any care of myself, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, no more. I went the full other opposite end, and I like started eating so clean. I like didn't drink. This was like the end of 2018 to like now, all through 2019. I just started really taking myself seriously, and then it was like another really shitty thing that happened. This is totally like my fault. Like I have known to be a little bit naive in the past, but I came across this thing online, and like I'm sure whoever's listening to this will laugh because it's like super stupid, but I was like so gung-ho on like, I'm gonna cure myself of herpes, like I am going to cure it with eating like raw foods and no alcohol and herbs and full crazy lifestyle change. And then I went and I was convinced that if I literally sent like $2,000 to this person in Nigeria, that they would send me the appropriate herbs to cure myself herpes. So I came home and I like worked my ass off after like my travels, and I like sent all my money to Nigeria, and then I was totally like lied to, as I should have known, and everyone else like that I told, like a handful of 4 or 5 people that knew my story and knew me, were like, Lindsay, you're gonna get gypped, don't do that. And I was like, no, I am like for sure, like I know this is a for sure thing, I'm gonna get cured. He's telling me it's a for sure thing. I've like read all the reviews, and yeah, it's just stupid. So then so I sent like $2,000 to him. Obviously he used my money. I'm a bit of a mess now that I have to say this out loud.
How did you find this person?
I started Googling, like hardcore in the Google, cure yourself of herpes. I probably went to 500 different websites, YouTube videos, tried all different things, and this person was just on a website. Obviously, they made people's profiles to look like they're from like North America. It was like, oh yeah, I have herpes, and then he cured me, and it was like a doctor, blah, 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 from Nigeria. I was just a stupid mistake that I for sure now know that was so dumb that I made. Yeah, I totally believed it, and like my friends and my mom were like, don't fucking do that, and I was like, no, like trust me, just trust me on this, like I know I'm doing the right thing. I was desperate.
Help us like not make that same mistake. Can you help us with understanding what some of the red flags were that you might have ignored?
Yeah, so they're everywhere. If you're someone that is active Google search type of person, or on YouTube a lot, Reddit, whatever, like if you're going searching for a cure, you will see these people. Oh, and he has like a profile picture, and you think he's some like doctor in, I don't know, wherever part of the world, and he's like, I can cure this with herbs and this and that. And yeah, so they're like everywhere. It's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, people's comments. If you follow the right or wrong page, you might come across, a comment saying, oh, I'm so and so, and I can cure you of blah 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 blah. So don't be one of the dumb ones like me that falls for it. Ship $2,000 through Western Union to Nigeria. Like,
the comments on herpes posts. So if you follow the hashtag herpes or any STD,
yeah.
you'll see people who have broken English commenting on things, and usually it's in all caps. It's like, oh, thank you to Dr. So and so. I've been cured.
Yeah.
I have cure of herpes. Thank you. Praise Doctor whoever it is. And
Yeah. So
they'll say
me.
contact this person at a Gmail account.
Yeah.
Always.
I know, I'm so stupid, but I thought I just fully fell for it. Honestly, I was like, yay, and I was so desperate already and super depressed.
You were
Yeah.
vulnerable. Let's say that. Let's not don't call yourself stupid. You were in a vulnerable space. Anyone
Yeah.
who is experiencing a traumatic event and hasn't really been able to process it at all, like they're still in the
Yeah.
process of it, they're
Yeah.
vulnerable. And that
Yeah.
includes people who receive a herpes diagnosis. We're very receptive to anything that's going to alleviate the pain, the symptoms, the stigma. So we're
Yeah.
open to writing that blank check for whatever it is that's going to provide us with whatever kind of relief we think we need. And
Yeah.
come to find out, like, maybe our contracting herpes is supposed to make us, like you said, just slow down and create some behavior changes or look at the things that are happening around us and decide
Yeah.
how we want to move forward. But we got to
Yeah.
understand that there are people out there who will prey on our vulnerability and try and get some money out of us.
And I mean, like, I lived in Nicaragua. I literally lived like within locals at the time I was there. I know that, if you're not as well off, you will do anything you can to provide for your family. I'm not someone that is judging that at all. And I honestly, it breaks my heart, especially because I kind of was around that for quite a while. And I understand for sure, like, why people do that. I just should have known better. But like you said, I was vulnerable. I was desperate and I was willing to do anything. Kind of going off what you just said, getting the herpes diagnosis, it sort of truly like woke me up. 100% woke me up. I was never someone that was slow mover. I was always yes woman, do everything, try, and I still am. And I think that that's a great thing about my personality. Like, I just don't feel like I'm scared of a ton of things. I'm willing to try everything, but that really needed to give me some maturity and wake me up and slow me down and stop being the one that goes out and is a big social drinker. I rarely drink anymore now. I don't it doesn't hold anything for me anymore. And I really think getting herpes was one of the best things that ever happened to me, like in a super twisted way. It was, and I'm grateful for it because I feel like if I hadn't have got it, I would have been on this train wreck, just continuing, yeah, just being bad, I guess. Yeah.
That's something that I hear a lot from people on the podcast, off the podcast, is that
Yeah.
herpes wasn't necessarily a bad thing in hindsight. Once you get it,
Mm-hmm.
you have to decide whether or not you're going to accept it. And once you come to a place of acceptance, you realize, okay, this isn't going anywhere. Unfortunately, it costed you $2,000 to realize that,
Mm,
but it's often a lesson that comes with it for us
definitely.
to reconnect with ourselves. And I think that that might be what it is that you've done. You've reconnected with yourself. There's so much that sucks about your experience. Please let me know if I'm asking any inappropriate questions or if
I'm a pretty open book. You're fine.
okay, okay. So once you found out that that was sexual assault, that was rape, what was your response to that? Did you have any response to that?
Well, like I said, the first couple months, I kind of just told some of my friends, and I feel like I downplayed it. And I would almost say it in a way that, yeah, like it's fucked up. But if you know me, I tend to be like the one that just loves making people laugh when I'm comfortable with my friends and family. Like, I'm the one that'll do anything to make people laugh. And I use self deprecating humor, whatever it's called, to just make myself be the stupid one to make other people laugh. So I feel like in a really fucked up way, I use that to tell my friends about it and just say some really, really horrible things about myself to make people laugh and to take the severity off the situation. And then once I told my mom, about 3 months later, we were at a restaurant, I just kind of was telling her, it just sort of blabbered out. And I told her in the real, raw, uncut version where I didn't use humor or I didn't, yeah. And I told her exactly what happened. And she was really not okay with that and really, really bothered and was just like, she was like, Lindsay, like, that's not okay. Like, this is fucked up. And the fact, she was worried about the fact that I didn't understand that that wasn't as fucked up as I was saying it. And I also think that's still a little bit fucked up why I was doing that. And I don't know why I do that or did that. And I have gone to two different counselors. One of them was really great, and one of them I didn't get much out of. The one that was really great, I couldn't financially swing it. She was wonderful. Maybe down the road once I start making a bit more money. But I feel like what I did after I got my diagnosis was do like a huge radical change of my lifestyle and like really deepen myself spiritually and stop hanging around with people that I used to party with and stop drinking. And I meditate a lot now, and I really feel like for the first time in my life I know myself, and I probably wouldn't have if that experience didn't happen. it fully completely derailed me off my path. And I'm super grateful for that, honestly.
Did you get any sort of treatment, or did you get tested for STIs afterwards?
Yeah, so I got tested for everything. I only came back as positive for herpes number 2. Then I kind of just I don't know if this is the right podcast I should be saying this on, but I guess I will. I didn't use any like treatments, like I didn't go on like the pills or anything. Like I said, I went like a huge radical lifestyle change, and I like eat only like whole foods now, fresh. I juice fruits and vegetables now. Like if I do eat cooked meal, it's gonna be like a vegan, and I never get outbreaks, and I'm not even sugarcoating that. I haven't had them in 6 months. It only happens when I start eating animal products, especially dairy. For me, I'm lactose as well, so the moment I eat dairy, popping up. But if I just like eat just real living foods and take care of myself, nothing, not a damn thing. So that's the route that I went, and I think that's another thing that like deepened myself in like a spiritual aspect is really doing like heavy self-care, taking care of myself. And I guess it's helped me around both ways. So
Yeah, well, I don't know why you thought this wasn't the podcast to say that. Oh, that was a weird
I
thing to
don't
say.
know. I kind of feel weird. Everyone's like, I don't know. I get some judgment
Oh
sometimes. Like,
no.
oh, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. And I get it. Like people, they hate on things they don't understand. I do too. But for me, I only talk about this for myself. I'm not ever telling someone what to do. But this is what's worked for me, and yeah, I feel really good. I also gained 30 pounds in 2018 after my diagnosis. I've lost the weight, like just by eating super clean. And
You sharing that is very powerful. It's useful because
yeah,
different people have different triggers. And
yeah,
when you begin to just experience your own experiences with having herpes, you can learn what those triggers are and you can manage it. So that means maybe minimizing the amount of something that you consume that
yeah.
may be a trigger for you. Are you vegan, or do you just eat vegan meals from time to time?
I'm raw vegan, so I don't even really eat cooked vegan meals. I just eat salads and a bunch of fruit, tons of fruit. I juice a lot. I never thought these words would be coming out of my mouth. If you knew the old Lindsay, you'd be like, ha ha ha, yeah, right. Yeah, and I feel the best I've ever felt mentally, emotionally, everything. I feel like working really well. I still have dabbled in animal products, and I do from time to time. I was at a couple weddings this summer. I'm not going to be the extra person. Oh, I needed this, I needed that. I'm just going to eat what other people eat because I know what's going to come out of it. And the next day I'm popping up like pop, 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 couple outbreaks. So
So
as for me,
you don't use medication to treat the outbreaks. You just go
I
back
don't.
to
And
you
that's
just stick to your diet.
I stick to my diet, and I also have not. I have met 2 people. I've only had sex with 2 people since my diagnosis. One of them, he actually had herpes. I met him on the Positive Single site. Super cool human. I really got along with him well, but it didn't feel like a long-term thing. I think we were meant to meet to really connect and talk about our situations and help each other, and then move on. Like it didn't feel like it was some romantic, like I love you. It was more so I see you and I get you. That was cool. And then I met another person. We would use condoms and stuff, and I told him my story, and he was great as well. Like he was really nice and super understanding. But once again, it didn't really feel like that. Like I love you and I need to be with you. It was more so, I think, another bit of like a stepping stone for me and him. But I also did have one other experience that was bad, where I told him and he did not take it well. But it was my first time I ever told someone. Yeah, it was kind of a freak show about it. Yeah, it was not good. I think I scared him full blown.
Well, how'd you scare him? What do you mean? When you just disclosed?
Yeah, I did. And we went on this date. We met off Bumble or whatever, and we ended up hanging out for like 6 hours. It was like a great date. We had so much fun. And then we were making out or whatever. And then I told him, but I told him in like a way that I was all panicked. And I just like felt like I couldn't really breathe. And like I didn't relate in the right way. And then he didn't know what to say, and he just said like, oh yeah, I just got out of like a long relationship, I'm not really looking for anything. That one totally stung. I really liked him. That was the one that I feel like I really liked. But I also feel like maybe if I hadn't have told him about the herpes and we hooked up or we had sex or something, and then he says, "Oh, I just got out of a relationship," and then he doesn't want anything to do with me, it would have hurt more. So in a weird way, it actually kind of cushioned me from that. Yeah, I kind of saved myself at the end of that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, this is a great
Yeah.
tool for filtering people in as well because
Mhm.
you learn what another person's knowledge is around sexual health and sexuality. You
Yeah.
get to learn how cautious they are, how well they take care of themselves, and how
Mhm.
well versed they are in this in sex period, and then what their intentions are. So
Yeah.
yeah, he could have said that the way that he said it was, well, I just got out of a relationship and I'm not looking for anything serious. Like, just
Yeah.
because you have herpes, you are now that serious thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Come on. All right.
Yeah.
You did a
Yeah.
complete change after your diagnosis, and I want to know what feels different about you. So it seems like you've just had this positive 180-degree complete turnaround. Um,
Yes.
who has Lindsay been prior to her diagnosis, and who's Lindsay now?
That's a touchy subject because I still feel like I'm figuring that out, and I'm around all my old family and friends, and I feel like I've shed a layer. And who I feel on the inside, I still express myself a little bit as who I used to be, which was the loudest person in the room, the funniest one that made everybody laugh and used herself as every joke, and everything was very lighthearted and funny and crazy and would just do everything you fucking said to do. And now I am like basically sober. I really drink like if I'm at like a wedding, if that. I eat really clean. I like do a bunch of yoga now. I meditate like crazy. I feel like I have kind of spiritually awakened, and I know it's kind of a heavy word, but I'm still figuring out what exactly that means. But it's just a feeling I feel on the inside. I'm a different person, but I'm still in this transition of when I'm around my family and my friends who used to know the old me. Do I step into the new me and, have them try to meet me halfway, or do I go back to the old Lindsay that they used to know that reverts back to being crazy and fucking drinking a lot and just loud and blah? So yeah, I'm kind of in this wiggle room right now that I'm figuring that out. I guess what I've been doing is just a lot of introspection, and I don't want to sound like I'm like lonely because I'm not lonely. I feel like I'm the opposite of lonely. I feel like I know myself, that I don't even need to be surrounded around people all the time or like a man or anything. And yeah, it's just been a lot of heavy introspection, especially the year of 2019, and just my lifestyle changes. And I am just very, very hopeful when it's my turn to come. A love is going to come into my life, and they're going to see me for me, and they're going to just love me for who I am, and they're just going to be like, yep. And then I know like it all was worth waiting for. And yeah, I am not searching for anyone. I'm not searching for, yeah, I guess really anything at all. I think I'm just kind of going within myself, and it's been a pretty raw, awesome experience.
What you're experiencing right now is very similar to something that I experienced in terms of when you come to consciousness, I will say. Let's call it consciousness for the sake of people who are like, boo, spirituality. Um,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just when you step into the awareness of there just being more to it than you. Because what I get from your self deprecating humor is that maybe you were masking some sort of an insecurity. Maybe you just wanted people to want to be around you or see you in a certain way. And then you spend more time with yourself. You begin meditating and you start to connect
mm-hmm.
more with the earth in the way that you eat. And you discover that there's like a whole different way of being outside of you worrying about how others received you. You had to be funny, Lindsay. So now
Mm-hmm.
in this limbo, because I do it, I jump back and forth sometimes
Yeah,
between Courtney and
mm-hmm.
then the Courtney that I expect others to want to see. So when I get
Mm-hmm.
around family, like that's when I do it. I kind of dumb
Me too.
down the Courtney. When I get around old friends, I dumb down the Courtney. But then whenever I'm in this space and like with people who see me, who know who I
Yeah,
am, that's when I feel the most energetic. I'm the most charged. That's when I'm most me. So I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to,
I
when you get around people who make you free to express who Lindsay is, and when you're in that space where you like yourself more around the people who allow you to be you and support you and being yourself, that's where you will start to not care to be in that middle ground and just be in who you are.
Yep. I love it. No, I fully agree with exactly what you're saying. No, I'm definitely gonna put more focus on doing that and notice when I'm going between the limbo, and just be aware of it. Okay, you're uncomfortable right now,
Yeah.
so make the choice. Are you going to be this or are you going to be that? And then just really step into who I want to be. And it's all, work in progress, but that's the beauty in it, I think.
It is. And it's a little
Yeah.
bit scary because you don't want to make others uncomfortable. You also don't want to put so much psychological energy into like explaining who you are, especially the family. So I mean,
Yeah.
I even limit the time that I spend around family. Like I had to tell my grandpa the other day. We were talking on the phone, and he calls, and it's always small talk for the most
Hmm.
part. Um,
Yeah.
and then when we got to a place where he was like, "Yeah, did you know that we used to have?" We were talking about sports. He was like, "Yeah, we used to have a sporting event off and a sports team, and it was in this place at this location. You know what I'm talking about?" I used to be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and this time I was like, Courtney, don't lie. I was like, "No, I have no idea what you're talking about," and it felt so good. Like it went off into a conversation. He was like, "Well,
Yeah.
why, how come you don't know that? What you mean you don't know that? Ain't you from St. Louis?" And
Yeah.
that's what I want normally have avoided. But it felt so good for me to just be honest and say, I don't know. Little
Well, it's
things
like
like that to me it's a little victory. It's a little victory.
speaking your truth. And I feel like that was a big thing that I had the impulse to just come on here and speak my truth instead of suppressing it and hiding it and feeling like, yes, you've been through this, being stuck in that limbo of shedding layers, but it's like I want to be more proactive in speaking my truth and being more myself. And I think in doing this is definitely going to give me that and has given me that up until this point. So yeah, totally. I fully agree. It's just, yeah, being yourself and, yeah, making the choice to be yourself and
Yeah.
continuing
There
and
you go.
being, 100% raw.
When you say raw, because you're in Canada, right? I don't know, is that a Canadian slang term?
Like raw, like vulnerable, like just being real.
Oh, okay. Cause I remember being a kid, we'd call something raw because it was cool, and then like wrestling
Oh.
was WWE Raw or something. So it was kind of like it was like that. It was like exciting, and I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't really go here. Live
Yeah.
exciting or live vulnerable.
Yeah.
All right, I
Yeah,
wanted to
no,
clear that up.
real, being real.
Lindsay, do you have anything that you want to leave the listeners with? I think that your $2,000 lesson was enough in itself.
Yeah, I guess like if I could leave with anything, um, like the initial shock of getting the herpes diagnosis stings pretty bad, like literally, and exactly how it is. But I think if you can go within and use it as a big learning lesson, and whether that's through dating or through like your own personal growth or anything really, just try to make the most of it, and yeah, it'll give you exactly what you need. I truly believe everything happens for a reason. It does every time. So yeah, that's all I have to kind of end that with.
Perfect. And was there anything else you wanted to say? I didn't know if we brought everything full circle. If there was more you wanted to
No,
get out there.
no, I feel good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Lindsay. I appreciate
Thank
having
you
you
so
on.
much. I'm sorry if it was like a little TMI, but
No, you'd be surprised as you listen through these episodes. You're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" But I will say that that might have been the most like visually painted
oh, I'm so
picture.
sorry.
No,
I'm
no, no. I'll make
so
sure to put a warning up for everybody just in case.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, people listening, but no, it was really, really good experience. Thank you so much, and thank you for like spending your time doing this because I do think it helps other people, but it also helps yourself. So that's awesome.
Oh, I feel so connected through this. Like I've mentioned
Yep.
it before. Like I feel more connected not only to other people but to myself as well. Like
Yep.
through this, the goodness, the I'm seeing so many people. Like we're at 100 and something episodes now,
Mhm.
and that's about how many people I've met who have had the intention of making the world a better place, just even through sharing their story and they're resonating with one person. And
Yeah.
some people have been inspired to get involved with advocacy and sharing information about herpes, and even at its greater depth, even sex education information, because I think that that's
Mhm.
really where the issue is. It's just a
Yeah.
lack of the right kind of information in the places with people who need it the most and aren't really given access to it. So this is helpful. It's helpful having this resource out here. It's helpful to have these stories, and all I'm doing is really just having a conversation with someone, and we're exchanging and expanding on our perspectives in
Yeah.
front of an audience for people to have their own expanded perspectives, their own perspectives expanded. Too many big
Yeah.
words. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that's wonderful. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for letting me get out of my comfort zone because I was nervous, but yeah,
Oh,
it was
you
good.
did great.
It
You
was
did so
good.
well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
All right, that concludes this episode of Something Positive for Positive People. Please like, rate, review, share this podcast on whatever podcast platform you listen on. You can find me at spfpp.org, the acronym for Something Positive for Positive People. If you want to connect with me, if you want to be a guest on the podcast, or even if you just want to share your experience, it's very therapeutic to be able to just have a conversation, especially for the sake of helping heal someone else. Or you can just type your story up and I can read it if you consent to that. But I'm always looking for guests. I'm looking for guests who have their experience with any STIs that are incurable, or if they have an STI that, or a story actually about an STI that is curable, whatever the case may be. That is what this space is for. This space is for these stories. This space is an intentionally inclusive hub of sex positive resources. And these stories have way more power than you can imagine. Even just listening to Lindsay's experience and talking about just being able to have found it the way that she found it. And now here we are with more great content for someone to be able to take away from and possibly compare their own experiences to. So, with that all said, do not give your money to any of these people who are saying that they can cure herpes. As of right now, 2019, we're at the middle of October. There is no cure for herpes. So the best thing we can do right now is educate ourselves, inform ourselves, seek support, seek a community, and we can begin to just empower ourselves to advocate for ourselves and understand and be able to take care of our bodies and manage the outbreaks. All right? Till next time, stay sex positive.